My name is Sharon Pierce, and I am representing Grace United Church. Today's reading is from Exodus chapter 19 to 22, and I'll be reading from the NIV version of the Bible. On the first day of the third month, after the Israelites left Egypt, and on that very day, they came to the desert of Sinai. After they set out from Rephidim, they entered the desert of Sinai, and Israel camped there in the desert in front of the mountain. Then Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain and said, "This is what you are to say to the descendants of Jacob, and what are you telling the people of Israel? You yourself have seen what I did to Egypt when I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all the nations you will see my treasured possessions. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom, a priest, and a holy nation. These are the words you are to speak to Israelites." So Moses went back and summoned the elders and the people and set before them all the words the Lord had commanded him to speak. The people all responded together, "We will do everything the Lord has said." So Moses brought their answers back to the Lord. The Lord has said to Moses, "I am going to come to you in a dense cloud so that the people will hear me speaking with you and will always put their trust in you." Then Moses told the Lord what the people had said. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go to the people and concentrate them today and tomorrow. Have them wash their clothes and be ready by the third day. Because on that day the Lord will come down to Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Put limits for the people around the mountain and tell them, be careful that you do not approach the mountain and touch their foot of it. Whoever touches the mountain is to be put to death. They are to be stoned or shot with arrows not in a hand. It is to be laid on them. No person or animal shall be permitted to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they approach the mountain." After Moses had gone down the mountain to the people, he consecrated them, and they washed their clothes. Then he said to the people, "Prepare yourself for the third day, abstain from sexual relations." On the morning of the third day, there was thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke, because the Lord descended on it in the fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently as the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder. Moses spoke and the voice of God answered him. The Lord descended to the top of the Zion and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses went up, and the Lord said to him, "Go down and warn the people, so they do not force their way through to the sea, the Lord, and many of them perished. Even the priests who approach the Lord must concentrate themselves, or the Lord will break out against them." Moses said to the Lord, "The people cannot come to Mount Zion, because you yourself warned us. Put limits around the mountain and set it apart as holy." The Lord replied, "Go down and bring Aaron up with you, but the priests and the people must not force their way through to come up to the Lord, or he will break out against them." So Moses went down to the people and told them. And God spoke all those words. "I am the Lord of your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of the slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven, above or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. So I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone's guiltiness or misuse his name. Remember the Sabbath day, by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servants, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covenant in your neighbor's house. You shall not covenant in your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. When the people saw the thunder and lightning, and heard the trumpets, and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die." Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you, so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning." The people remained at a distance, while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this, you have seen for yourself, that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make yourself God of silver or gold, or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth, and for me sacrifice it on your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stone for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up to my altar on steps, or your private parts may be exposed. Those are the laws you are to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall go free, without paying anything. If he comes alone, he is to go free alone, but he has a wife. When he comes, she is to go with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and the children shall belong to their masters, and only the man shall go free. But if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife, and children do not want to go free, then his master must take him before the judge. He shall take him to the door or the door post, and pierce his ears with an awl. Then he will be his servant for life. If a man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not to go free as the male servants do. If she does not please the master who has selected her for himself, he must let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to the foreigner, because he has broken faith with her. If he selects her for his son, he must grant her the rights of a daughter. If he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of their food, clothing, and martial rights. If he does not provide her with those 3 things, she is to go free without any payment of money. Anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is to be put to death. However, if it is not done intentionally, but God let it happen, they are to flee to a place I will designate. But if anyone schemes or kills someone deliberately, that person is to be taken from my altar and put to death. Anyone who attacks their father or mother is to be put to death. anyone who kidnaps someone to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or is still in the kidnapper's possession. Anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. If people quarrel and one person hits another with a stone or with their first, and the victim does not die but is confined to bed, the one who struck the blow will not be held liable if the other can get up and walk around outside with the shaft. However, the guilty party must pay the injured person for any loss of time and see that the victim is completely healed. Anyone who beats the male or female slave with a rod must be punished if the slave dies as a direct result, but they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property. If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but there is no serious injury, the offender must be fined, whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. If there is serious injury, you are to take the life for life. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. Any other who hits a male or female slave in the eye and destroys it must be let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. And an owner who knocks out the tooth of a male or female slave must let the slave go free to compensate for the tooth. If a bull gorges a man or woman to death, the bull is to be stoned to death, and the meat must not be eaten. But the owner of the bull will not be held responsible. If, however, the bull has had the habit of gorging the owner, has been warned but has not kept it, penned up, and it will kill the man or woman, the bull is to be stoned, and its owner is also to be put to death. However, if payment is demanded, the owner may redeem his life to be a payment of whatever is demanded. This law also applies if the bull gorges a son or daughter. If the bull gorges a male or female slave, the owners must pay 30 shekels of silver to the master and the slave and the bull to be stoned to death. If anyone uncovers a pit or digs one to fail to cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the one who opens the pit must pay the owner for the loss and take the dead animal in exchange. If anyone's bull injured someone else, bull and it dies, the two parties are to sell the live one and divide both the money and the dead animal equally. However, it is known that the bull had the habit of gorging, and the owner did not keep it penned up. The owner must pay the animals for animal and take the dead animal in exchange. Whoever steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it must pay back 5 head of cattle or the ox, and 4 sheep for the sheep. If a thief is caught breaking it at night and then is struck for a fatal blow, the defendant is not guilty or bloodshed. But if it happens after surprise, the defendant is guilty of bloodshed. Anyone who steals must certainly make restitution, but if they have nothing, they must be sold to pay for their theft. And if the stolen animal is found alive in their possession, whether ox, a donkey, or sheep, then they must pay back double. If anyone grazes their livestock in the field or vineyard, and let them stray, and they graze in someone else's field, the offender must make restitution from the best of their field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out and spreads into a thorn bush, so that it burns shock of grain or standing grain, or the whole field, the one who starts the fire must make restitution. If anyone gives neighbors silver or goods for safekeeping, and they are stolen from their neighbor's house, the theft is caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, no one of the house must appear before the judge, and they must determine whether the owner of the house has laid hands on the other person's property. In all cases of the illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment of any other lost property, about which somebody says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judge. The one whom the judge declares guilty must pay back double to the others. If anyone gives a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animals to their neighbors for safekeeping, and it dies, or is injured, or is taken away while no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by the taking of an oath before the Lord that the neighbor did not lay hands on the other person's property. The owner is to accept this, and no restitution is required. But if the animal is stolen from the neighbor's, restitution must be made to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, the neighbor shall bring in the remains as evidence, and shall not be required to pay for the torn animal. If anyone borrows an animal from their neighbors, and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, they must take restitution. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay. If the animal is hired, the money was paid for the hired conveyance covers the loss. If a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife. If the father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgin. Do not allow a sorcerer to live. Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal is to be put to death. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord must be destroyed. Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, and for you were forgive foreigners in Egypt. Do not take advantage of the widow of the fatherless. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to one of the people among you who is needed to do not treat it like a business. Deal charge or no interest. If you take your neighbor cloak as a pledge, turn it to be sunset, because the cloak is the only covering your neighbor has. What else can they sleep in? When they cry out to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate. Do not blaspheme God or curse the ruler of your people. Do not hold back offerings from your granaries of your vast. You must give me the firstborn of your son. Do not do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. You are to be my holy people, so do not eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. This is the word of the Lord.